Global Gold for those that are based in America and Canada. And for those in the UK and Europe, we have Orvesta. Get yours now. Charlies.gold.
Good morning. It's Wednesday. It's the 4th of March 2026. And this is just a little reminder to me to be clear about what I say. Because I told you that one of the largest banks in China collapsed last week, the Yangtze Bank. And of course, one of the insiders said, "There's no such bank as the Yangtze Bank, Charlie." And he was spelling it Yangtze. And you're absolutely correct. There is not a bank called the Yangtze Bank spelt like that. That's probably how the Americans would spell it. But the Chinese spell it Jiangxi. That's how they spell Yangtze. Now, because I've worked with China for 40 years, I would know that, and I'm privileged to know that. So be very careful. When I say something like that, maybe I need to spell it out more often so that we don't go down the wrong track. Because somebody came back and said, "You're talking absolute rubbish. There is no such bank." Well, there is a bank, but it's just the spelling. Now we've dealt with that. What's happening with the banking world right now is collapse. I predicted it. I knew about it 4 or 5 years ago that they were all going to collapse. When you get a bank of that size that collapse in China, it has a massive effect, not just in China, but worldwide. And we're going to see banks around the world. We're still in limbo with the Bank of England, who are fighting with the Bank of International Settlements to stay alive. But nobody's talking about it. Because if they talked about it, there would be civil war in the UK. They're fairly fortunate in the UK, because if there was a civil war there, half the army would turn up with their poodles, with their pig hair and big earrings. Just saying. There's not so many men left there, but thank God with the men that are left there, they are standing up and fighting. But there's not enough for a civil war. Morning, Drew.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. And thanks for the giggles first thing in the morning. My first story, gold jumped 2% as investors sought safe havens amid rising Middle East tensions. Silver, platinum and palladium also moved higher, while oil briefly surged more than 10% on fears of disruption through the Strait of Hormuz. Equity markets fell across Asia, and futures in Europe and the US signal a softer open as investors brace for volatility driven by geopolitics.
So much going on right now, with the world so unstable, people are wise to buy gold and silver. I've said this for 5 years. I've done it myself. I've done very, very well out of it. Thank you. So when it comes to gold and silver, this is a warning. Secretly, without anybody knowing, they're passing legislation in America that allows the government to take your gold and silver. They can only take it if you tell them you've got it. My personal recommendation at this moment in time is you don't tell them anything, because you're dealing with corrupt governments worldwide, and they will steal it from you. This is where you need to be wise. I had this conversation earlier with Drew. My parents, my grandparents, during the war, buried their gold and silver. Some of our family members remembered where they buried it. Some of them didn't. So I'd recommend that you know where you bury it when you bury it. But if they ask you if you've got anything, no. Because they will try and strip you of all of your wealth, all of your power, so that they can control you. And with no money, no gold and no silver, you're easy to control. This is a very, very important time in your life where you need to learn how to manage your own financial affairs. Do not depend on the government. Do not depend on the banks. Depend on God. That's the only way forward and the only safe way forward, because we're dealing with corrupt banking systems and we're dealing with corrupt government. Use common sense, Drew.
Next up, a new bill from Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna proposes $3,000 payments to households earning under $150,000, funded by 5% annual wealth tax on billionaires. That would be like Elon Musk. The plan would also expand Medicare, reverse Medicaid and ACA cuts and set $60,000 minimum teacher salary, setting up a fierce debate in Congress.
Well, this is all part of the illusion. They'll always say they're going to tax the rich to give to the poor. That's what they tell you. It's the biggest lie you've ever been told. Because the tax from the rich doesn't go to the poor. It goes to them. If they're giving you anything from the poor, they're printing it like they've done for years. They print billions of dollars for wars, billions and billions, whether it be Ukraine, Taiwan, Venezuela, the Middle East. It's all printed. Why didn't you print a little bit more to help the less fortunate? Why didn't you print a little bit more to cover taxes? Why didn't you print a little bit more to look after the homeless? There's a very simple reason why. Slaves are very easy to control. And the awakening is to awaken you from the slave mentality. There's one downside of moving away from the slave mentality. It's a word called accountability, where you have to be accountable for what you do. I've always had to be accountable and I've enjoyed it. Some people don't. Some people like doing as they're told. They want everything done for them. I'm not one of those. And those people who've woken up over the last 5 or 6 years are much the same mindset as I am. They're quite prepared to take responsibility for their own actions and for their own lives. And I'll tell you right now, the first thing you find when you take responsibility for your life and you become accountable, you find peace. Because you're in control. You decide who your circle of friends is. You decide what you do. And you don't do what you're told to do, you think you have to do. Bear that in mind. And don't miss the Insiders Club tonight. There's Trennis Evans on there and Dave Mahoney. For all those single women out there, you've got some good eye candy. Have a great day today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
These are the facts, not put out by mainstream media. If you want to know the truth, we put out the truth every single day, Monday to Friday. Saturdays and Sundays we spend with our families, as we should do. So if you want to know the truth, come to charlieward.com and see real news daily. And join the Insiders Club, which is live on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Oval Gold for those that are based in America and Canada. And for those in the UK and Europe, we have Orvesta. Get yours now. Charlies.gold.